Hi, all. Tonight's podcast I titled New Beginnings. And I did so because basically the summer is over. Things are beginning to return to normal. Kids are going back to school. Offices have dropped many of the restrictions. There are no short-term holidays. Tonight is the end of basically the last one. Holiday season is coming. And here we are. I have been saying to you over and over again that because we all realize that the AccuLife AccuWeight program works, if we work the program, we're going to achieve our goals. All of you are here today because you have not achieved your goal. And if new beginnings can help us focus, then this is what I would like to do with you this evening. And I'd like to say this. There are many things I need to say. Some of you are not interested in the things that I have to say because they don't apply to you immediately. The biggest problem there is psychological. And if we are going to be successful beginning this new cycle of a year for us, then what we need to do is face the issues that the psychological aspect of doing this impacts on us. All of us basically go through the same thing. All of us do not have the same experiences. But the one thing I can tell you is that in the 50 plus years that I was a psychologist, every single one of my patients had the answer to the questions. They didn't want to deal with finding out what those questions were. So they tried to make it easy by saying, Dr. Schwartz, here's my problem. Tell me what I should do. The problem of what you should do, you already know. You're just not ready to accept the fact that you do know and that the problem is psychological. And before you can understand the psychology, you have to understand what brought you here. And I mean truly understand. Every single one of you said, I want to lose weight. No question about it. And I have said to you, you're an adult, terrific. You want to lose weight, but it's not as easy as that because realistically, you had every right to say, I want to lose weight. And there is no need at all to justify it. You're an adult. You said, I want to lose weight. Fine. but you committed yourself to something that you did not really think through. The moment you said, I want to lose weight, you committed yourself to change. You couldn't any longer behave the way that you had been behaving and achieve your goal. Because your goal said, I can't continue to behave the way I have been behaving because it's the very thing that brought me to saying, I want to lose weight. So there already was a commitment made that you really hadn't thought through. And the reason you hadn't thought it through is you had not faced that conflict. I will no longer be able to do the things that I have been doing if I'm going to achieve my goal. So before we take a step further, be patient with me. I'll try to move it along rapidly, but you need to ingest what I am saying, because if you do not fully understand, you're going to go off in the wrong direction. Here it is. You lived inside your mother for 9 months. During that period of time, you grew, you developed, but you were totally taken care of. You did nothing for yourself. Somewhere around the 7th month, development got to a point where if you were birthed, you would survive. You stayed in longer to get bigger and stronger. Your mother went to the hospital. Out you popped, and you went from 100% being taken care of to 0. Now, if you're going to tell me that since there was awareness, and I'm not going to explain that awareness, but you had been born, you realized survival was the issue, because you went from 100% being taken care of to 0. And you couldn't survive by yourself. So whether it's a higher power or nature, you were born with a survival mechanism. It's called screaming. That screaming caused you to survive because you weren't invisible. So the survival mechanism was there within you. Your mother took a nap, they took you away, they brought you back. You were warm, you were held, and you fussed, and your mother fed you. Breast, bottle, it makes no difference. So within the first few hours of your life, you were traumatized, and survival became an issue, and you were immediately comforted with food. That issue of survival and the issue of comfort are never going to diminish. They will be with you for the rest of your life. And that's normal and natural, but it's incredibly powerful. You are here today because weight is a problem for you, and we'll get there. But let's understand that if food did not exist, we would not be here having a discussion. Food is the issue. It soothes you, it comforts you, it helps you survive. It has a power attached to it that will never diminish. Now, with that in mind, the power of food, that it comforts you, It helps you survive. Keep that in the back of your head because we're going to make some jumps now. From that day onward, survival was an issue, and comfort and survival together ruled your life. What happened to you during those early years are critically important because they left information inside your head, which is being utilized by you today unconsciously. Many of you have been in therapy. I have not been yours, but I have been a licensed psychologist. One of the things that I learned is that every single patient who came to me wanted me to give them the answer, and that's not possible. There are millions and millions of people out there. I couldn't possibly have the answer for all of them. But you have the answer if you're willing to listen. And I'm going to be trying to bridge a gap this evening. And that's why I call it New Beginnings. I want to help you without therapy leave behind the things that have been impeding your progress. And if we can leave those things behind, you will take back control of your life, and the choices that you make will make sense as an adult, whereas your behaviors are illogical. And what do I mean by illogical? They are illogical because you do it again and again and again. You complain that it's happening again, and yet you continue, whether they be conscious or not conscious. The issues that cause you to be overweight don't disappear. I don't have the job of helping you deal with your problems. My job is to help you achieve your goal in the healthiest kind of way. And I believe that my 50 plus years as a psychologist, it's crazy, but in the state of New Jersey, I was issued the 297th license. When I look back, it's inconceivable. But I learned in those 50 years what I think, and you will be the feedback, that I have found for us a simple answer that can change your life in so many ways all by yourself. And you don't have to have all of the answers. You have to have the understanding. And part of the problem is that I'm here, you're there, we're not face to face. Some of the things that I'm saying are not immediately appropriate, and you turn me off. You go away because I wasn't at the exact moment saying what you wanted to hear. Now, let's understand something. I have yet to see someone who truly felt that they were happy with themselves have the kinds of problems that we are dealing with, namely weight loss and what comes with being overweight. There are a million programs out there. You see them every day. I think that because the powers that be did so, I came to AccuLife because from my point of view, it's the only program that makes sense in that it is something that will create for you a personal lifestyle. It will teach you how to live as being you. You're not living as you're living. But you're living because all of those things that happened to you in your earlier life were interpreted by you and by your brain. And remember where we were: survival and comfort. So every single one of you who is overweight used food, the survival mechanism. You used food to comfort yourself, which means things had been going on in your life. Those things created habits in you. Those habits impacted on you. The discomfort was there, and you became overweight because the power of food was your issue for survival. Now, in psychotherapy, we begin to understand how those issues impact upon our life. I was thinking as I prepared for this evening about this 5th grade young man. He was grossly overweight, but I didn't see him in the 5th grade. I saw him, he was already 30 years old and weighed over 300 pounds. He grew up with a single father. The father was overwhelmed. He didn't know how to raise a child. The child had a learning disability. And the father did the best he could. They'd taken the kid to psychologists. They had done different things. But in this 5th grade, the father really laid down the law. And in the first marking period, the son disappointed. He did very poorly. And when the father got the report card, he beat the tar out of the kid. Who, what, why, where, which, let's not go there. The father was what he was, he did what he did, and he beat the child. The second mocking period, he failed again. Only this time the father treated him as though he were invisible, never speaking a word to the child, but making sure that the child was following directions. This was the first time that I met that child, 5th grade. He had run away. And the reason he had run away, I finally learned, was because he was terrified about what would happen, because he had no idea other than what the father had taught him. You're worthless. You're unlovable. You have no value. The father taught him that because the father was overwhelmed. He was doing the best he could, but it impacted on that kid. When he came into my office, AccuWeight, he was already 30 years old, had tracked me down, wanted me to be his psychologist, and I explained to him that I was no longer practicing, but if he liked, I would try to help him. Now understand something. I am saying to you that because he felt unloved, unworthy, powerless, helpless, he had used food to comfort himself because it was the only thing that worked for moments. But he couldn't do it any longer. I was no longer a psychologist in private practice, but I said to him, I think if you and I together can help you lose weight, your life will begin to change. And the first thing that I said to him was, how do you feel about waking up first thing in the morning? And he said he hated it. And the reason he hated it, because he never looked forward to a day where he was happy being who he was. So let's start there. Every single one of you has value and worth. A significant majority of you believe that you're not worthy, you're not valuable, you're not lovable, and that the only way in which you can get comfort is to find some way of ignoring who you are, using food for comfort, because those few moments are where you get your escape. I have no idea whether that father loved that child or not. The only thing I do know is that that father was overbearing, over his head, was doing the best that he could as a single parent. and that his inability to be successful with that child helped that child believe that he was valueless and powerless, unlovable, and therefore he wasn't even worth taking care of himself, but only escaping. He now comes into my office, and I say to him, "What do you want?" And he says, "I want to lose weight." And I say, "Terrific." He says, "Let me help you." And I said, "Stop. You're not here to help me. I'm here to help you. I heard you. You said you want to lose weight. Don't say another word. I'm going to ask you a question. Are you certain that you want to lose weight?" And he said, "Yes, I'm absolutely certain I want to lose weight. And I've tried and I've tried and I tried, but I haven't been successful. But I remembered you from elementary school. I tracked you down, and I thought you would be able to help me." I said, "I will. But first, are you aware of the fact that you've been doing over and over and over again the same thing?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's very simple. How many diets have you been on?" He said, "I don't know, lots." "On how many diets have you been successful?" He says, "I've lost weight here or there, but I've never been able to keep it off." "And why do you think it is you haven't been able to keep it off?" And he said, "Because there's a lot of pressure and stress in my life, and I expect to fail because the pressure always makes me break down and give in." And I said, "Oh, so you're here today. You know I'm not going to be practicing as a psychologist. I'm going to be your Sherpa guide, helping you lose weight. And that's going to be your priority." And he said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, then I have to ask you another question. What are you going to do when you're under pressure? The pressure says escape into food, which you have been doing. And you've already walked in here expecting me to be helpful to you, but you're already expecting to fail." There was silence, and I said, "Stop. Are you aware of the fact that the moment you walked in here, you committed yourself to change?" And he said, "Yes." "Have you thought of the impact of that change on you?" He said, "No. You're going to help me change because you're going to tell me what to do." And I said, "No. Never before has being told what to do worked for you, because as soon as the pressure was there, you ran to comfort, to get away, to escape. And then there was guilt and remorse each time, which led you to believe that you're a failure. Suppose we stop right here." He said, "Okay. What are we going to do?" let's not justify that you want to lose weight. You're an adult now. You want to do this. You've committed yourself to change. You're not fully aware of the fact of how the change will impact on you. And it will. It's going to be an added pressure in your life. But let's start in the first place. And he said, where's that? I led him back and said, did your father love you? And he said, no. And I said, how do you know your father didn't love you? Well, look at the way in which he treated me. Okay. Now, why do you think your father treated you in the way in which he treated you? He stopped and he said, I guess I'm not lovable. I said, really? Did your father feed you and clothe you? Did he take you places? And we went through some history of things that he remembered. And there were times his father was good to him. And I said, was it possible that your father was overwhelmed? He had his own issues. Your mother had passed away. He was bringing you up. He didn't know how to be a father. And maybe he had his own psychological problems. And those psychological problems came out. And what did you believe? And he said, my father didn't love me. Then why didn't he give you away? Why didn't he leave you on the side of the road? He stopped and he said, I don't know. And I said, what don't you know? And he said, now that you're asking me, I guess I really do not know whether my father loved me or not. But I grew up believing, and here I am today. So how are you going to help me? I said, I'm not going to help you. You're going to help you. Step number 1. You walked in here. You people are out there. Why are you there? All of you, or most of you, have failed X number of times. Why are you there? And the answer is because I want, correct? You want. And you have every right to want. So the first thing we have to do is say you have a right to want, that you're allowed to want to lose weight, and this is important, you don't have to justify. The mere fact that you said, I want to lose weight, is all that's necessary. That number 1. Number 2, and here I'm going to ask a question, but in a rhetorical kind of way. If you really want to lose weight, deep, deep, deep down inside yourself, you want it for yourself, right? So you're telling me you deserve it. Not only do you want it, but you walked in here. Nobody dragged you in here. You said, I have enough value in myself to take this step. Now let's go another step further because it's a problem. And I'm asking you people out there the same question. If you are here, do you realize that you get up in the morning with a person who looks exactly like you, and you don't treat that person with love? How can anyone treat you with love if you show them that you don't love yourself? And the reason you don't love yourself, we haven't got the foggiest idea, do we? Other than the habits that you've developed and what you've perceived. For example, you told me your father didn't love you. Well, we don't know whether your father loved you or not. We don't even know whether your father was capable of loving anything. And it's obvious by your father's moods that he wasn't very emotionally stable. He was overwhelmed as well. So step number one, recognize that our job is to help you recognize that you're important enough to yourself to have taken this step to come here. And if you're important enough to yourself, you're already placing some value upon yourself. By the way, this is how some sessions still go with patients who see me in the office or those I call on the telephone. Weight loss is a psychological problem. It has to do with survival, and it has to do with worthiness, feelings of helplessness, feelings of powerlessness, and the need to feel loved and comforted. And that the old habitual behaviors impact on you because survival and comfort seem to be primary for all of us. Hi, Jerry. I see who you're out there, and I'm just, when texts come in, I can see them on the screen now. Jerry said good evening, and I'm just saying back good evening, acknowledging that you're there. And by the way, you can text questions, and they will come up on my screen if while I'm talking you want to engage in a response from me. So the first thing that we have to recognize is that our self-worth, how we treat ourselves, is critical, and that we continue to use the old habit behaviors to give us comfort and escape. When the pressure is on us and we're feeling uncomfortable, and escape into that momentary comfort as a survival mechanism. Now, if it's healthy, if it is healthy, are you committed to losing weight? And I'm going to rhetorically say, your being here says yes. Then I'm also saying you committed to changing your behavior, which is not going to be easy. and I'll explain in a moment. You've committed to change and recognize that you're going to have to address all of your old behaviors that lead you to use food to comfort yourself. The power of food is never going to go away. But there are many ways where we can comfort ourselves. And we'll get there. But let's understand that there's an intermediate process. And that process is habits. Habits that you've developed over the years that give you momentary escape from the feeling of powerlessness and helplessness, of unlovability, because they were an escape. It makes no difference why. If you sitting here said, I want to lose weight, all of that stuff existed. It's not going away. I've helped many patients in psychotherapy dealing with issues that they had. But the only issue right now that you and I have is your old habits get in the way of doing what you should be doing in order to lose weight. Now, if that's not true, then you don't belong here. Because your behaviors are the very behaviors that cause you the conflict. Why would you have guilt, remorse, feeling of helplessness, etc., if when you, and I'm going to use the word cheated, which means went off your program, you cheated because the pressure you had bothered you. Oh, hi, Zariah. Now, understand something. Your old habits work, but they don't give you what you want. So one of the things that we need to do is to recognize, as long as we deal with our old habits, we're going to fall down because we're going to go back to our old habits, because the issue of momentary escape gives us pause. And then it piles in after. Why did I do it? Guilt, remorse, whatever. If it worked, we wouldn't be talking. And that's why you and I are here. Now, I want to teach you several things, and I, as Dr. Chu would say, I'll drop a pearl, pick it up and hold on to it. Maybe by the time we're finished, you'll have a necklace that you'll want to wear around your neck because you'll be proud of yourself. Number one, thoughts and action. Thoughts exist, but thoughts are not real. They are inside your head. What's going on right now between you and I is real. Not totally so. It's not ideal because we can't interact. But my talking, my speaking, and sometimes you talking to yourself in response to what it is that I'm saying, brings it into the real world. This is where we live, not here. This stuff is important, but it's not real. What's real is verbalization. Talking to yourself, verbalizing it, because when you speak it, you bring it into the real world. It's concrete. You can almost touch it. You can't touch thoughts. And many of the unconscious thoughts that you have are based upon erroneous information. I had a woman come in to the office the other day. She has lost over 100 pounds. She went away on vacation, all planned, all expected. She's started phase 2 on vacation. We discussed how to deal with phase 2. She came into the office, got on the scale, 2 weeks in, I don't know, Bermuda or someplace delicious, had a wonderful time, followed our discussion of how you deal with vacation, and she put on 1.5 pounds. How could she totally ignore the fact that she had a wonderful vacation and in the process of having a wonderful vacation, basically stayed the same? That thought of failure was there. Why? Because she did not yet have the willingness, the consciousness of saying, what a wonderful job I did. Let me pat myself on the back. Never can I remember going on a vacation, having as good a time as I had, and I've had as good times, but coming back and almost staying the same. And by the way, the reason I use a scale, because the scale is irrelevant as far as I am concerned, is because I have no ability to measure the fat in your body. So I don't know if you're losing fat or not losing fat or what's happening. When I put you on the scale, I know whether things are the same or things are different. And so I use that scale as a measure of what is or is not happening. But I try always to bring you back to the fact that the power of food will never go away. You're going to use it for survival and to feel good. And if we are in control of that, things are going to get better. Now, you know I sometimes jump all over the place, so pardon me a moment. Now, you've made the decision you want to lose weight. Accept the fact that you created for yourself. You said you were worth it. You committed yourself to change and recognize that change means you can no longer be comfortable in living the way you have been living and also achieve your goal. So until you are stable, which is we get to phase 2 and phase 3, you've said, I'm going to change my behavior. I'm going to have pressures that are going to suggest to me that I go off my program to get some peace, to get some comfort, to get some relief. And that going off is going to be a problem for me because it's a conflict. I want to lose weight and I also want comfort. It's not complicated. It's difficult because that voice that says, I want, is your comfort escape. For how long it lasts, it's irrelevant. It works. When you go off the program, you have a moment of relief. And tell me that's not escape. Characterize it in any way that you want. And it's there because your old habits are pressing on you. Now, remember, I said you have to verbalize, you have to change, and you have to recognize that there are going to be pressures on you based upon your history, whatever else, where you're going to expect to fail because you've failed. You're not going to recognize that you've put value on yourself by walking into the office, that you're going to verbalize because if it's in your head, it's not real. It's only real if you verbalize it. And you have to recognize that those conflicts, and yes, if you go into therapy, the odds are after a period of time, you will understand all of the triggers and be in a better position to deal with them. But until that therapy is successful, those issues of pressure of getting you to cheat are going to be there, and they are unconscious, which means they are habits that you continue to use them because they work. And what I've said to you is, and that's what New Beginnings is all about. Stop. Now, simple question. What other than food makes food a problem? The answer is how we address it. You cannot survive without food. Simple. You can't. Food gives you comfort. Yes, it does. I use food for comfort. Uh-oh. Now you're asking me to give up some comfort. I'm not asking you anything. I'm asking you for a new beginning. And what's that beginning? How I structured, and I'm going to modify it just a little bit, the Magic No Protocol. Now, you and I know that the pressures are there. Something is going to happen in your life that is going to cause a voice in your head to say, I want you to cheat because I want escape and I want comfort. The reason it's there is because food is comfort, and an issue for us because we're on the AccuLife program. And that's the only reason food is a problem. If weight is not the issue, what's the problem? I like food. I'll have some food. Okay. But it's not okay because you said I want to lose weight. And now I have all these conflicts I have to deal with. And this is why I want you to understand. You have the capability, but only if you use it, and you must verbalize it and how you use it. The instant you hear that voice, it's a real voice. It's not an illusion. It came from inside you. And I suspect, so I'm just going to say it, it's because you're under pressure. It makes no difference what the pressure is. If you cheat, it's not going to solve your problem of the pressure. If you cheat, and that means that you're on a program and that you're cheating on the program. You're not cheating on yourself because you do what you want to do, and you have every right to do what you want to do. But you've said no. So you said to the voice, no. And that voice is going to hock and hock and hock and hock until, oh, I can't take it anymore. And you're going to compromise and you're going to give in. And we're going to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So it never works because it fulfills that other part. See, I told you I'd fail. So let's eliminate it consciously. I didn't say get rid of it. Those habits, those behaviors, those thoughts that are inside your head exist. They will continue to exist. But I've said, let's bypass them. Let's bypass them. You see, and the reason I've asked you to use, I prefer, because they're easy to carry with me, I use peppermint Tic Tacs. And the reason I use peppermint Tic Tacs is because the peppermint sort of gives me a shock. I'm totally aware of the fact that when I put those peppermint Tic Tacs, I put them in my mouth. I'm conscious of it. And that's what I want. I want you to connect the consciousness of what you're doing. Now let's follow me through. The moment you put the Tic Tacs in your mouth fills with the flavor that you're conscious of. You still desire that, and I'm going to call it a cheat, you still desire that cheat. The putting it in your mouth, the flavor filling your mouth makes you conscious of what you've done. But now you know also something else. Whatever the taste of that cheat is, when combined with the flavor that is now filling your mouth, makes it unpalatable, and you will spit it out. And it's over and done with. For the moment, nothing has changed except the instant now, and that's why I want the connection between the peppermint flavor and your mind. The instant you put it in your mouth, you already know that you've bypassed everything before, because the tastes, when combined, will cause you to spit it out. So you achieved your end goal without going through anything. And since you were the one who did it, you're saying, I'm important enough to not give in to my comfort because I'm important enough to me to be able to say I want to lose weight. And it's over. But here's the best part. It's only over for that moment. 2 minutes from now, 3 minutes from now, 5 minutes from now, the same thing is going to occur. The voice is going to say, I want. And now we can go through it. Should I? Shouldn't I? Can I? Or we've taken the first step in saying, I don't want to deal with that. And the reason I don't want to deal with that is it doesn't work. If it worked, I wouldn't be talking about it. It doesn't work. It really doesn't satisfy me. I recognize my own weaknesses, and I'm going to go round and round with this. But now I bypassed it, like you took a detour. The only thing it did, it took you a little more time, a detour. But you acknowledge immediately that the combination of tastes will not allow you to ingest the cheat. And now we've done it a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time. And every single time you do it, it works. Part of the problem, however, most of you are unwilling to verbalize. When I put these Tic Tacs in my mouth, I say, I'm putting these Tic Tacs in my mouth because I want to bypass all the nonsense that has bothered me for I don't know how long, and this will do it. It's done. There are no strengths, there are no weaknesses. I had the power to do it. And I now make the connection between my brain, my action, and the outcome. If I want to deal with all of those kind of things, I'm not stopping you. What I'm saying to you, you set a goal. Give me one reason you would set a goal and set it up because it's not the goal you wanted. Don't tell me it's hard. Tell me what you want. It's hard to breathe. Okay, stop breathing. You said, I want to lose weight. Did you mean it? Yes. See, now you're getting ready to rationalize and tell me why. Why are you not important enough to make a decision and be good with the decision since it's your decision? Why are you trying to justify it with me? I couldn't care less. Whether you succeed or not is not going to impact on me. You hired me to give you a methodology to give you back control. You now have the methodology to give back control. The reason you're verbalizing it is because you're bringing it into the real world. It doesn't stay in your head. It's not just a thought. I'm doing this because it's going to give me back control. Now, the moment is over, so let me ask you the next question. How did it feel? Think about it. How did it feel? Well, I miss not having to cheat. Okay. What else? I like the fact that I didn't cheat. Great. So now let me ask you the question. Do you regret putting the Tic Tacs in your mouth? And if the answer is no, what you said is the choice that I made, which is to put the Tic Tacs in my mouth to stop me from doing something that will give me comfort, but is not good for me because I'm not happy about it. And I did it again. Wow. I'm not powerless. I'm not helpless. That's right. You're not powerless. You're not helpless because those Tic Tacs couldn't do anything by themselves. You're the one who put them in your mouth. You're the one who said, I'm important enough. You're the one who said, I want to lose weight. I don't want to deal with all that nonsense. And so I'm doing this because I know what the outcome is going to be. And it's the outcome that I'm after. You can follow up on any of those other things as much as you like. The problem out there, and this is the one that bothers me, I want you capable of taking charge of your own life and beginning to like the person whom you live with. I told you how incredibly fearful I was when I, on that Route 84, was skidding and I had incredible visions and I was powerless and helpless to do anything about it. It's terrible to feel powerless and helpless. But we have a methodology of dealing with it. And all you have to say is, yes, it's worth it. Now, talk to me, send me texts, answer questions. We're going to do more of this, and you've got to verbalize. You can't keep it in your head. If you start tomorrow, new beginnings, and simply follow through what we have been talking about, 2 weeks from today, if you have a tight pair of jeans and put them on again without washing and drying, you will see the difference in your body. We don't need all this other stuff that fools us and lies to us. People don't keep the weight off because they have never made themselves important enough, lovable enough to like whom they wake up with in the morning, the one person they cannot escape. Right now, and I'm a little embarrassed, I'm very happy with me because I feel good about the fact that you brought me into your life to allow me to share with you thoughts that will be helpful to you. Because when I am helpful to you, I like myself better. Did I have issues in my life? You're darn right I did. We've talked about them. And those are never going to go away. But how I deal with them and how I then deal with myself is what really makes me feel good. Thanks for listening. 973-243-0777. AccuSmoke, AccuSmoke @AOL.com. That's my email. I'm going to try to figure out a way we can interact online as well. You must verbalize. Thanks for joining me with our new beginning.